All right, those are updates coming straight to us from our sister company, NTV Kenya, right there. Of course, the breaking news this morning that the former president of Kenya, President Daniel Arap Moi, has rested at the age of 95. Of course, we'll continue to bring you the updates as they unfold. Hashtag Morning at NTV. This, of course, is still Morning at NTV. We are with you. Engage us, all right? We are also live on NTV Uganda. That's on Facebook and YouTube. And you can also feel free to tag us directly at Malaki Vilodera. Romeo Bisiku is also following through with the conversation. But of course, before we wrap the show up, the clock is ticking and time is flying and passing by so fast. But before we go to that and close the show up, we can't miss out on this conversation. Of course, in the political scene, DP is making headlines. Of course, for the past few days, it's been DP and nothing but DP. Now, sticking to that, now as the Democratic Party prepares for its National Delegates Conference, now expected to take place from March 28th to the 30th in Gulu, fresh accusations have rocked the Green outfit. The latest row erupting when lower branch elections were halted as the party's organizing secretary, Mr. Suleiman Chidandala, noted that the elections were not being conducted in line with the party's constitution. Now, begging the question, is it time to catch up with the party? Of course, in studios this morning to just give us some of these answers and to get to understand what's happening to this green paradise. I do have Miss Daisy Nachanzi. She is the member of a DP National Executive Committee. Many thanks. Of course, donned in the colors green. Welcome to Morning at NTV.
Thank you so much.
Next to her, I do have Sarah Biretta, the ED Center for Constitutional Governance. Many thanks. Always a pleasure to host you.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome. Now, you know, I don't know if my director has this particular story ready for us, but I think we can move on, then go back to it. You know, you are a direct DP blood, Miss Daisy.
Yes.
What's happening? We thought the DPs got it all together, but seemingly not.
I do not think there is anything that is going astray. It's just a few gymnastics that
Repeat that again.
It is
How
just
would you say that?
few gymnastics that the public is perceiving differently, but it is the season. It is the political season, and some of these issues are expected. However, as a party, I don't think we are breaking apart. We've always tried to sort these internally, and we are surely going to.
You know, I was looking through your party constitution, and of course, I'm itching to hear Ms. Biretta's bit and view of what you've just said, that there's no fire in the party. But, you know, I was looking through, and this grassroots elections are somewhat of a prerequisite to the National Delegates Conference.
Yes.
And the clock is ticking. And here we are, having some of them saying we're totally disappointed that all these things are being, you know, messed up. We're having the bigwigs in the party saying that it's not supposed to be happening this way. Of course, criticism flying in left, right, center, of course, criticizing the party president, Mr. Mao, that, you know what, he's not doing things in the right way. Now, you coming and saying that this is just because of the heat we are having as we count down to 2021. Are you saying that all this is nothing to worry about?
First of all, we need to appreciate that our colleague and comrade Suleiman Chidandala, who is the National Organizing Secretary of DP, is constitutionally empowered to proceed with the elections. However, his role is supervisory, because we have a pivotal person who is the Secretary General, who must, of course, endorse every document that is issued out that concerns elections. Now, we need to understand that as a party, we've had some of these issues. Actually, the last extraordinary executive committee that we held was purposely called to handle issues of party elections. We came out with a roadmap, and previously you would have noticed that we had a national council where the organizing secretary still came out with a controversial document besides what the National Executive Committee had earlier approved. So it was sent back, the two organs were sent back to harmonize a united and organized plan for our elections, which we had in our last executive committee. And this is what we are rolling out. You could have noticed that we're supposed to start on the 26th of January up to the 31st for our village elections. But they were postponed because we had a few scuffles internally, which I believe we've handled. And literally, most of the time, you're going to also notice that departments sometimes do not operate in unison. You could have a head of department that is operating contrary to what the deputy is organizing or doing. But to me, I think there is that political season where either there are individuals seeking political relevancy or they are just individuals that are deliberately operating out of will, because I do not think that people that are now coming to bring out the controversies are operating in good faith.
All right.
I'll give you an example shortly. Like Honorable Namayanja is a member of the National Executive Committee. She sits on the Finance Committee. She sits on the Management Committee that sits regularly, actually weekly, to reassess party positions. And when we come out at the last minute and people are now demanding for accountability, it's not actually an issue of accountability. It's not an issue. People just keep imagining up issues. But at the end of the day, the parliamentarians in DP, I think, are just afraid because they're not being given.
Wakati amefuna munaingia huko kwa shamba mnachukua yenye inabaki. Kuna mtu anauliza nyinyi. Hapana, hospitali tuko nayo hapo. Kila kitu wametusaidia naye. Kwa hivyo tunampenda sana kabisa. Tumeona tumewachwa na mzee rafiki wetu zaidi. Ndio.
Ambia kama mwananchi, kando na kujenga hospitali na kuwasaidia na maji na stima, mlikuwa mnamuona baada ya kustaafu kama rais, alikuwa anakuja anakaa na nyinyi kwa wakati mwingine?
Alikuwa anapita hapa karibu kila siku. Akienda pande hii ama akienda pande hii. Kila siku, na alikuwa anazungumza na watu hapa. Ndio.
Ujumbe wako kwa familia sahi na kwa Wakenya wengine, nyinyi unajua mlikaa naye hata baada alitoka kwa rais wa nchi hii. Tuambie tu ujumbe wako kwa Wakenya wakati huu.
Sasa sisi tunawapa jamii yake pole na Wakenya mzima. Tumewachwa na rais mwenye tulikuwa napenda zaidi. Ndio.
Asante sana. Acha nizungumze tu na baadhi ya wakazi wengine pia wamekuwa hapa wakati rais mstaafu alikuwa hai. Tuambie tu, nyinyi ni majirani wa aliyekuwa rais wa nchi hii marehemu Daniel Moi, mlikaa naye kwa njia gani ama mliona ana deal na nyinyi kwa njia gani?
Mzee ni mtu alikuwa mkarimu, mkipita kwa hata atasalimia watu kwa barabara. Mzee amesaidia hata barabara hii yetu amekuwa akitengeneza. Kwa hata hospitali tunaenda kwake. So Moi amesaidia kwa mambo mingi sana area hii. So hata sisi tunaomboleza pamoja na familia yake kwa sababu mmetuacha kwa huduma mingi kama ya maji, ametusaidia kwa hali ya barabara na whatever. So mzee ni mtu wetu na tumempoteza.
Pole sana. Acha nizungumza na mzee mwingine. Karibu sana, majina yako? Pole sana. Tueleze tu mlikuwa mnamjua vipi marehemu Daniel Moi rais?
Mimi naitwa Mushemi na mimi ni jirani ya ila kushaenda na ametufanyia mambo mingi sana. Yeye ndiye alitupatia title hapa Mangu, alituletea stima.
All right, those are updates coming through from NTV Kenya, our sister company, of course, just linking us in with what's happening on ground, what Kenyans have to say with, of course, the death of the former president of Kenya, Mr. Daniel Arap Moi, rested at 95 years of age. I think we can take a second just to respect his time and life. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Let's move on. Daisy, you were telling us that, you know what, it's not a question of wrangles in between. It's just a conversation of political prominence being trying to push by some of these people in the party. But Sarah Biretta, you have been monitoring what's happening in DP. Yes. Has for a long time seemingly been the most organized in terms, you're a king, the queen of governance. Seemingly DP has been, you know, seen to be having it all together. And now we're having this, you know, kind of turbulence in the party. She's saying there's nothing to worry about. So do you think, are you in line with her saying that it's just a matter of some of these political bigwigs in DP seeking for political relevance now that you're counting down to 2021? Would you say that?
No, I think there's a problem. First of all, political parties in Uganda have a broad challenge that is national. And it's twofold. One is the national legal framework, which is not so friendly for political parties. with a lot of restrictions on parties, coupled with laws like the Public Order Management Act, where political parties are strongly constricted in their operations, and the operating environment is toxic at a national level. But when you come to parties at each individual political party level, there are three basic challenges. One is the lack of internal democracy, and this goes to the bottom of the crisis in DP and many other parties. We have another challenge of lack of a strong social base, where parties don't enjoy full support of citizens in their political activities, and this goes hand in hand with weak mobilization that is partly constrained by the national toxic environment. But we also have lack of strong internal structures that would absorb such conflicts as we are seeing in DP.
Yeah.
So is there a problem in DP? Of course there is a problem in DP.
And is there an end to sight? Because like you said, the structural issue, because, you know, when we're having the organizing secretary, Mr. Suleiman, coming up to say that I am not pro this grassroots elections, I was not even informed. So that pointed out to some structural issues in there. That how can an organizing secretary general say that, guys, you are conducting grassroots elections, I am not pro this, I am not informed, I don't know about it. So it's a structural issue. But would you say there's a solution, or is it still that other same push for prominence?
I wanted to, you know, if you look at the past three, let's look at the past 3 or 5 delegates conferences in DP.
Yes.
There has been skirmishes. The climax of this was in Mbale, I think. You know, and normally there are attempts by one faction to stage manage delegates, which in a way is rigging party elections. They want particular delegates to go through the elections. So once they feel that the ground is not leveled, for their hand-picked people to emerge victorious in elections, then they cause confusion at the top. The other problem is, of course, if you have seen the MPs, the DP MPs that associate with DP, whether they run on independent or not, that's another matter. They are talking of a party not being transparent and accountable. But then when you look at their behaviors, you're like, okay, so what has been happening? And another challenge DP is faced with, for example, my friend Dr. Siranda, when he says he doesn't believe in grassroots elections.
Yes.
Did he get to the position where he is through grassroots elections? No. A lot of DP current members have been handpicked and replaced with those that either defected or died or stepped down. And so there is also that conflict in the transition of DP. Many people were handpicked into leadership.
And that handpicking is where the problem is. And you pointed out to the lack of democracy
you
within the party.
Chameleon has a national post. Who elected him? And where is he in this
Daisy, what's your say this? Your president, your party president, called his critics. She talked about transparency, and they were criticizing him of lack of transparency, especially for the party funds. And he called them the elite lumpens. What's your take on this?
I believe there is no one that would ever accept to be a punching bag for anyone, irrespective of whether you have a political position or not. So Honorable Norbert Mao, just like any other person, will not just be there to be boxed from every corner and let his nose bleed, but not giving back feedback. So I do not agree with my lady here on the fact that she's saying we aren't picking delegates. First of all, we agreed as an EC position that sub-regional representatives are the ones that are going to handle the electoral processes. So registers were picked by sub-regional delegates, representatives who are to conduct elections back home. So we are not going to even actually agree to one other statement. I say that even the Secretary General of the Democratic Party is not pro the grassroots elections. He himself is contesting back in Palisa. He has been moving from every region trying to mobilize people to come together. So it's not true. However, I concede to one reality that we have issues internally on spreading wide on a social basis to be able to mobilize capacity for membership. which is a challenge we've had over time. But we are not also going to just assume that it's going to be resolved over time. There are scenarios where you're going to realize that out of Buganda, because our capital is in Buganda, that is why you're going to realize that actually most of the conflicts we have are regionally based in Buganda.
Correct.
So there's a lot of power pressure from within Buganda that everyone wants to either retain their political position, or they are intimidated so much by the fact that they may not be able to emerge winners in the primaries.
So does it mean that, because we can't just thwart what Ms. Sarah Birete is saying, she gave us a classic example of Mr. Chameleon, all due respect.
Yes.
Handpicked.
Which delegates elected him?
Handpicked.
No.
Maybe you can answer to that.
The president of the Democratic Party has a preserve to make a few appointments. For example,
What is a few appointments? What does the
have-
Constitution stipulate?
We have, I'll give you an example. Currently, we have a press secretary to the president. He's not elected by the delegates. He's not.
Those are his staff.
We
That
had-
is understandable.
Yes.
And there's a difference with the national
You're
leaders
going
of the
to
party.
realize that, for example, the current mayor of Machindi, Mulyanyama, was in the same serving capacity of what Chameleon is today. And it was just an appointment by the president. This is not a person that is, when you look at our delegates lineup, the executive position that we have, what Chameleon has is not a neck position. He does not sit on our executive committee. He does not sit in any organ of the party. That is just a casual appointment that can be given to any other person. And that is the same capacity in which
What
the
is
current
his,
mayor. So we are building.
What is his post? National mobilizer.
Yes.
And it's a casual appointment.
Yes, it is, because it is a presidential reserve to be there to serve.
All right, okay, Ms. Sarah Birete,
Yes.
clearly this democracy governance conversation, and I think that's where the gap is, if they're to get it right. Because, you know, as we're counting down to the 2021 general elections, the song in every person's mouth right now, especially them that are in the opposition facet, is to oust the incumbent. And a majority of experts have been saying, if at all that is to happen, benchmarking against all the countries that have been able to successfully oust incumbents who have stayed in power for long, is for the opposition to join hands together. Now, the conversation has always been, if we're having the individual opposition facets bickering amongst themselves, is this coalition dream a reality? Will it even bear any fruit? What's your take? If they're to get the thing right, where should they start from?
If Uganda's opposition is to unite, they need to have a principled coalition. There was an attempt for that in the last elections, but it did not work out.
Correct.
For obvious reasons, a few of their principles. Of course, we have a lot of checkbook politics. A few of the principles disappeared at the time of signing.
Yes.
And that goes to the depth of the challenges in opposition. Some people are opposition when actually they are on payroll to be in opposition. And it's difficult to find out who is where and on the basis of what. But with time, actions speak louder than words. With time, you look at people's actions and you're like, okay, so are these the checkbook politicians? Are these the people paid to be in opposition, or are these genuine opposition? So once that is sorted out, I'm sure the genuine opposition will unite. But the checkbook opposition will cause confusion and even disrupt the unity.
So what will it take? Will it take the genuine opposition members who are pro-coalition to stand up and say enough is enough and check their grounds? Is that what it will take?
The people, I believe right leaders emerge at the right time. These manipulations happen in every dictatorial regime. You have opposition which is stage managed, which is paid up, and we saw this even at the time of referendum to return to parties. People were paid to contest on the other side. So it is not new. And it is expected of any regime that is not democratic or in a society that does not enjoy the free principles of democracy. It is expected. Does it stop the opposition from doing the right thing?
Right.
No. The right opposition will do the right thing. And people should watch out for the signs.
Right. You know, you Ms. Sarah Birete, before I come to Daisy, you seem to say that if we are to get to a certain desired end, the respect for democracy is critical.
Yes, of course.
At party level, at a coalition level, at a national level,
And grassroots level.
grassroots level,
Yes.
it's quite critical.
Yes.
Let's now, since we are just trying to iron out DP issues, if DP is to get it right, where should they start from? Because the clock is ticking. March is just around the corner. National Delegates Conference and this grassroots elections are a prerequisite.
DP as a party stands for truth and justice. DP also happens to be the oldest party in this country, but every other ticking clock, as you say, it makes the people believe that it was never formed to take power. You see, the single reason political parties exist is to take power.
Right.
If there are parties that are not prepared to take power, they should come and join us in civil society. Because they don't belong in political parties, they are misplaced.
Right.
So when you look at a party, every delegates conference, I remember Mbare's delegates conference very well. It's stuck in my mind. It was a rigged delegates conference by all standards and in all fairness. So if anybody is trying to do a repeat of Mbare, then you cannot blame the people that are refusing those maneuvers.
So
you
what's
cannot.
the solution, Ms.
The
Sarah?
solution is free and fair elections at all levels.
Okay.
And citizens deserve less than that.
Okay.
Citizens must have free and fair elections in parties, must have free and fair elections at a national level.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, your party's leader is under attack. And you said, and I'll just say what you said. You said that these people who are trying to give him blows, as you called it, are them that are seeking political relevance, especially in this heated time.
Yes.
Do you think he will survive this heat in this kind of civil war within the party, especially in this heated time? Because ideally, when you look at it, what they're calling for is for him to step aside.
Yes. Well, I cannot doubt at all that he's bouncing back. Norbert has served as our president for the last 9-10 years. And this is not the first time he's under pressured.
Are those
heat.
2 terms?
Yes, those are 2 terms now.
Yeah.
So,
He used to have a 2-term principle.
Yes.
of course, dynamics vary.
What you're saying is that his time is up.
But our constitution, our
He's
constitution,
the one who set the pace.
our party constitution is open on party terms. However, I think it's also important, like she said, that we have to give due respect and diligence to constitutional principles, and it is something we shall have to, because we are undergoing a constitutional review as a party, which the delegates will have to endorse in our delegates conference. So to me, I'm not worried about Norbert Mao's political survival. Is a warrior that I know can fight through and handle every kind of heat that comes our way.
All right.
However, I think it's also important for us to note that the fact is, while we need internal democracy in our party structures, it is also relevant that our own party organs and departments or units are also true to each other. Because if we are not, we are going to just end up hitting down each other, which is going to break us the more.
Okay.
And yet we have a way forward.
You're seemingly a direct supporter of Mr. Norbert Mao, but as we wrap this up, unfortunately, we're running out of time. Mrs. Sarah Birete, do you think we're going to have a national delegates conference come the 28th to 30th of March, courtesy of DP, with all this?
I think they will have a national delegates
And do you
conference.
think it will bear fruit? Will it be successful at all standards?
I hope it does not push out more eligible leaders as independents, because I think DP as a party have a large number of independents,
Right.
precisely because of challenges in internal democracy. And I think that also should be a big point for the leaders, and the member of NEC is here. The leaders should reflect. The people that get out of the party are more credible national leaders in parliament.
Right.
You look at the DP MPs, they are not, they are members of substance. I was in Masaka recently with the DP leadership in Masaka, and I was like, look, why don't you get to the national? But more and more, as time progresses, you find DP credible leaders are pushed out of the party. And then the people that remain in the party, you still need a torch to trace where they are coming from.
Correct.
So I think you should avoid that
Right.
and consolidate your strength as a party. If you are interested in taking power, that is.
Daisy, are we soon going to see this heat cooling off anytime soon before the delegates conference? Any indications?
Before the delegates conference, the heat may not. However, there are high chances of a very big political hangover after the delegates conference that we have to prepare for. I only call upon all the Democratic Party members, wherever you are, that we pursue, whether you're a leader or just a member, transparent electoral processes, because we do not need to lose so many people, and yet we have capacity to be able to unite even prior to the delegates conference.
All right, many thanks for coming through. Of course, you're following through keenly and closely just to see if you get things right before the delegates conference. Many thanks, Daisy Nachenzi, member of DP, of course, National Executive Committee, and also Miss Sarah Birete, rather. I call you the Queen of Governance. She is the ED, Center for Constitutional Governance. Many thanks. Always a pleasure to have you right here on Morning at 10 TV.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, the clock is ticking, and unfortunately, we're running out of time. Many thanks for joining us, yes, and for making us the #1 station right here, and #1 breakfast show as well right here in the country. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Of course, I do this with Romeo Busiku from Monday to Friday. Going out and make it work. Keep it Morning at 10 TV and NTV Uganda as well. And make sure that you stay safe. See you tomorrow, 6:30. Bye-bye. This is Morning at 10 TV.